Delta State is one of the largest economies in Nigeria. They have a budget of 430 billion for 2012, which is one of the largest amongst the states in Nigeria. But we've been trying to see if this oil-rich state has a little more than oil. Joining me in the studio for that discussion is Kenneth Okpara. He's the Commissioner for Economic Planning in Delta State. Thank you so much, Kenneth, for joining us on the show today.
Thank you, Wole.
Well, first of all, I want to start with a point that I think, very interesting point that a member of the economic management team made recently, which is that I think the public is overcritical of the federal government because they expect the federal government to do everything. But if you check revenue allocation in Nigeria, about only half of it goes to the federal government. The other half goes to the states and the local government. Talk to us about what Delta State is doing with regards to economic development from a regional perspective, if you like.
I think what Delta State is looking at is data beyond oil. In fact, that's our new team in Delta State. We believe that we should leverage the resources we are getting right now from oil to diversify our economy into other aspects like infrastructure and looking at industrialization of Delta State. And we have a lot of things we're doing in terms of we're using a model of special economic zones.
Right.
So one of the models to actualize this is a model that China used about a decade ago. They were 90% dependent on oil, just as we, Delta State, are now. But today, it's 22% that oil contribute to the GDP of China as a result of usage of the special economic zones. And these, we have the free trade zones, the Cocoa Free Trade Zone, Warri Industrial Business Park, and the Asaba ICT.
Right.
So these are the three core zones that we are using as a model to diversify our economy. And as we're creating infrastructure, within the state in order to leverage on these parks.
Well, clearly, you're obviously a very relevant part of the regional economy. Delta is hosting the South-South Investor Forum in April next. Obviously, that will be next month.
Yeah.
Give us a sense of the stories, particularly when it comes to tourism. I see that there is an investment in, for instance, a very ambitious amusement park in the state. Yeah,
the way the South-South Economic Summit is coming is such that we want to use it as a forum to attract investors to the whole of the South-South, but in particular focusing on Delta State. The 6 states of the South-South are coming to Delta State, but we are expecting as the host to drive our investment agenda and industrialization agenda through that forum. And one of the things you mentioned is like we have an economic advisory team in the state that is made up of people from the private sector and also the public sector. They are also helping to drive this South-South Summit to make it a global event and makes it to be successful.
How are you positioning tourism? Because many people, when they think of the South-South, they think of the Niger Delta crisis, militants, but you are obviously looking at tourism as a key, a very important area for you.
We are, because Delta State is blessed with a lot of resources, and we are capitalizing on tourism as one of the ways to change the image of Delta State. We have a park we are doing, in association with the foreign partner, and that has gone to an advanced stage. Beside that park, there are also other off-site infrastructures, like roads that will lead to the tourism center. It's close to Warri, and Warri is a strategic location. Warri has a lot of population, as well as other towns within Delta State. So this is one of the ways we are promoting, along with other things we're doing on tourism.
Now, clearly, you're obviously investing in infrastructure. A 50 billion naira bond was issued last year. If you like, I'm sure 14% is a very attractive number for a coupon, given the market conditions today. But give us a sense of how that money is being deployed right now. It's obviously focused on infrastructure.
It is. I think the focus of the bond is to support the government resources that have been put into infrastructure. Infrastructure needs in Delta is so massive that even though people think we get a lot of allocation from the federal government, it's not adequate. We need to do roads. We need to do water. We need to deploy ICT, infrastructure. We need to do schools, health. There are a lot of things that had to be done. And what happened with the 50 billion bond is like, it's a bond dedicated to specific projects. And they also have specific deliverables. And we're accountable, you know, for any bonds issue, you know, there's accountability mechanism put in place. So you cannot use those funds for other purposes other than the specific that are stated in the agreement.
Okay, so talk to us about the return on investments. What are you expecting? Like I mentioned earlier, it's one of the largest economies in the country, top 3, I think, if depending on who you ask. Give us a sense of what kind of returns we should expect from this investment. These are huge investments, obviously.
You know, the returns that you will get will not come immediately. It comes over time. There are some of these projects, some of these infrastructure projects that are meant to lead to revenue generation, like hospitals, for example, you know, which we charge for people coming for health services. Some, they are free. You know, there are others that will not generate revenue immediately, like the roads. We are not doing tolling for now, so you can't expect revenue. But the investment that we are looking at is that it's going to open up the state to industrialization. If you have good roads, you have good education, good health facility, people are attracted to come and invest. Before foreigners will come to invest in a state, they always require that the relevant infrastructure are in place. You know, but we know we cannot do all the infrastructure development. That's why we're also seeking for foreign direct investment to Delta State.
All right. Well, Kenneth, best of luck. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Kenneth is the Commissioner of Economic Planning in Delta State, giving us his thoughts on what's going on in the oil-rich Delta State in the South Nigeria.